This call is being recorded.
Hey.
Yeah, man, I'm here. How's it going?
Pretty good. I can't believe how many people are coming into esoteric knowledge right now.
Oh, really? You've had a lot of emails from people lately?
Oh, yeah, I get emails all the time. I got some woman from the Muskegon area. Me and her know like about at least 20 different people between us. Like she knows the same 20 people I know. She even knows family members of mine, and I didn't really know who she was, but we started talking, and then she was like, "You know anything about hypnosis?" And I said, "I know about hypnosis investigations." And she said, "What's that?" I said, "Well, it's a form of investigation that, sophisticated detectives use to find information." She said, "Okay, so you're familiar with hypnosis?" I said, "Yeah, I'm involved in channeling, lucid dreaming, psychic dreaming, past life regression, astral projection, etheric travel. As an independent researcher, this stuff's like right there with with bacon and eggs, And
Right.
she was just like, "Oh my God, I feel so relieved. I finally get to find somebody." Like she even told me, she was like, "I was praying last night to the universe, telling the universe to help me, and the next morning, you messaged me, blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Yeah," and it's just amazing, just in the area I live at, how many people just in the Muskegon area are waking up to real knowledge.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Are you gonna keep working with her?
Yeah, I've been talking to her. She's out of town right now, but I've been talking to her. I did a chakra reading for her, and I did the emotional chakra reading to see what chakra she's working on, and I was teaching her about the chi energy and the ki energy and breathing technique, and she was saying she was into hiking, and I was telling her, I need to lose I definitely need to lose some weight. I need to start hiking and stuff like that, and so it was just another person. I get emails like that all the time.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like you made a genuine connection.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And, it feels so good to see the public actually waking up and looking past the stupidity in the news media.
Right.
The news media gives no real information to the public, and I don't even watch the news. If somebody asked me what was on the news, I would be like, from time to time, I watch newsreels from the 40s and 50s. I can tell you. They'll be like, "Can you tell me what do you think about the president?" I can tell you more about Jack Kennedy, or I can tell you more about Harry Truman than I can the current president. I don't know what's going on. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing. You know what? Remember when the last time I really paid attention to the news. I think we talked a little bit about this when the whole Britney Spears thing happened.
Yeah. She there were every single day, at least on not just TMZ, but on some of the mainstream news outlets, they were covering her apparent breakdown, and that just, to me, was sort of symbolic of some of the stuff that happens in the news that's not really news. I mean, it is, but it's not. They're sensationalizing it, I guess is what I'm saying. They're sensationalizing somebody's problem, but they're not looking at the deeper issues that all of us might think to ourselves while we're watching it. Like, what's wrong with her, man? And they don't talk about that.
The last time I came across TMZ, I was on Hollywood Boulevard doing a tour, and on Hollywood Boulevard, TMZ is down by Grumman's Theater. I'll never forget it. It's a little cafe shop next to Grumman's Theater. And are you familiar with Grumman's Theater?
No, I'm not.
It's a Chinese theater. Actually, the architect, the designer of it was Jewish, but it's a Chinese movie theater, and it's right on Hollywood Boulevard. It's probably the most famous site on Hollywood Boulevard, Grumman's Theater. And when you go into Grumman Theater, as soon as you walk in, you know everything is mainly about Marilyn Monroe. When you go down to the basement, oh my God, Marilyn Monroe owns Grumman Theaters.
Wow.
Yeah, they have everything in there. Even the bathroom is set up exactly how it was when Marilyn Monroe was there. I mean, even though Marilyn Monroe unfortunately has passed, she's still there.
Mhm.
You know, but I went to the TMZ tour on Hollywood Boulevard, and I went in there, and the ride and the cost of the tour was like $60-something. And
Oh my God, are you serious?
I'm not joking you. And I know about, I know like almost every tour guy on Hollywood Boulevard, and a friend of mine owns a tour company right there, and so usually I can get one for like $15-20, and that's for 2 hours. You go through Beverly Hills, you do the Sunset Tour, you go up through the Hollywood Hills to where where they used to shoot the silent pictures back when Hollywood used to be Hollywood Land. You can even get the Laurel Canyon Tour if you can find a good one. And you go through so many different places, but the TMZ tour was like $60-something, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to do it just to say I went with TMZ. And so it was a pretty nice tour. They had a nice tour guide. She was cheerful. She was pretty. We went down Melrose Drive. We went down Rodeo. I'm sorry, not Melrose Drive. We went down Rodeo Drive. We went out to Beverly Hills, and we had a really nice time. And all the people who saw the TMZ bus were like, "It's TMZ, it's TMZ," And yeah, but I told her, but you know what? Going back to what you were saying about Britney Spears, it's TMZ is so sensationalized sometimes, because I was talking to them. I said, they said, who knows, is anybody here related to an actor who is on Hollywood? I was like, I am, my cousin. I said, my cousin. I said, my cousin, which isn't close related. We're about fourth cousin. I said, my cousin, Lou Rawls, he has a star on Hollywood Boulevard. And she said, Lou Rawls, who's that? I said, you don't know who Lou Rawls is? He used to hang out with the... Yeah. I said, Lou Rawls used to...
Oh, no, man. It's a bogus. You shouldn't even be in Hollywood if you know who Lou Rawls is. That's like the old school.
Yeah, I know. I said he was in the television show, Sunset, the Sunset Show, and, he did movies and stuff and all that stuff, and the music and stuff, and they don't, they're like you're saying, they're only interested in really sensationalized stories.
Mhm.
They're not really interested in the historic value of something necessarily. They want something sensationalized, like you're saying. It was Britney Spears. What do you think really happened with her? Because I don't see a crazy person. I see somebody who is being tormented,
right,
and ripped apart.
Honestly, I would say I do see Britney as a survivor of some type of monarch programming. I don't know like what type it is or what her history is, but that type of reaction I think is a rebellion reaction. I think she was very full on rebelling against some stuff when she did that, and she got ridiculed for it. Which when you look at the stuff we're talking about that people go through can be so bad, and in public life and the fame spotlight, you're expected to be very, very high society, prim and proper, and there's no room for your past. And so I think that's why it comes across looking crazy, because these people are trapped between telling the 100% truth versus having a career that puts food on their table. It's a real fear of them to have that career just suddenly come to an end. And be like, maybe all my money's gone and now I'm homeless, and I used to be Britney Spears, man, and now I'm living at the shelter. Like that type of thing is something that I think she would have been afraid of. So I 100% feel for her, and some of the stuff she said, I'm like, wow, you really just sit down and talk to somebody. But I don't blame her for acting out. I guess my main thing is I don't blame her at all. I think it's very telling that she did that. Very, very telling.
It happens. That's like with Martin Lawrence. Martin Lawrence was seen running around with a pistol in broad daylight, and he thought somebody was after him. And, you know, obviously Martin Lawrence is a well-educated man. He's an actor, he's an entertainer, but he's well-educated. These people sit back and learn how to get into roles, and they read scripts all day. Anybody who's made it in the entertainment industry is not a weak person. It takes a very strong person to make it through all those, you know, to make the cut. You have to be psychologically strong. A weak person wouldn't be able to put it with all the rehearsals.
Exactly.
You know, but Britney Spears, that kind of, you know, that really broke my heart when I seen her with that umbrella hitting that car. And you know, I remember, I didn't really know who she was, but I knew there was something wrong, and I knew she wasn't crazy.
Right.
And so, but thankfully we have the alternative media. We have our own news. You know, we might not be like Larry King Live or the Jay Leno Show or whoever's out there, Lou Dubs, but at least we have our own voice. And that's the important thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then to be able to say, I feel like what we're talking about right now is like a news story that would have been the alternative story if Britney only had that option. Because, you know, like you're saying with the voice issue, she had the voice in the sense that she had her singing voice, but she didn't have a voice in her private life. And for people to acknowledge her behavior is symptomatic of something like that going on, I feel like we're effectively partially her voice. If people want to believe what we're saying, but anybody who's you've got to think to yourself, if you're okay, let's say you just are a regular person, you've always dreamed of being famous, you know for a fact that when you get there, because you wanted it so bad, you're not going to want to blow it. So if you don't want to blow it, why would you do what Britney Spears did? You would have to be motivated by something bigger than your own ego. There has to be something else going on. Nobody just torches their career like that for no reason, man. You don't just set fire to the whole house just because. Especially if you're living inside of it. And she's living inside of that house, and she set fire to it. And so have a lot of other people.
Right. That's fascinating. That and all that happened in the whole time this is going on. She's been in the public eye, and it's like the whole world, you know, watched that happen. You know, watch her go. It's fascinating. You know, who's the girl who got into the? Is it Lindsay Lohan? Who's the girl who got into the drunken driving accident?
Well, Lindsay Lohan for sure has had DWIs. I mean, she's going to be one of them for sure.
Really? That has to be humiliating, though, to wake up and see everybody around the world knows you were drunk or something. You know?
You would hope so, but as many people as get caught doing that, you know, I don't know if that's like the most embarrassing. There seems to be, probably more embarrassing to have a sex tape at this point than it is to have a DWI.
Hell, it used to be. I mean, I'm surprised in today's world they arrest movie stars. Like Paris Hilton got arrested. I remember Paris Hilton's grandmother. I wasn't around when it happened, but Paris Hilton's grandmother slapped the police officer across the face. Remember that?
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, Paris Hilton's grandmother slapped a police officer across the face, and Zsa Zsa Gabor, right? Isn't that her grandmother?
I knew who Zsa Zsa is. I didn't know she was connected to them. Man, that's pretty interesting.
You don't know about that? Paris Hilton's grandmother slapped a police officer across the face. This was years ago.
When Paris Hilton was famous, man, I was so sick of that stuff. I would see her name, I wouldn't even click on the article. You know what I mean? Like, I just shut myself off from the information. I didn't want to hear it.
What was it about her that turned you off?
if I can be honest, it was that she, whatever power she had, she could have done anything with it, but she presented herself as a vapid hoe, in my opinion. I mean, she really did. She wasn't out there for animal rights or ecology or education or anything. She was just like, I'm Paris Hilton, I'm the hotel magnate, and I'm kind of slutty looking. You know?
I stand correct. That was her grandmother, Zsa Zsa Gabor, bitch slapped the police officer, and when she went to jail, when Paris Hilton's grandmother went to jail, she was wearing fur coats. Zsa Zsa Gabor was wearing fur coats in the jail.
Oh my God, man! It's like because Zsa Zsa Gabor, I've never really watched any of her movies. The only thing I think about her is that I watched Green Acres when I was growing up, and she was the wife, and New York was where she would rather be. You know, and she was out there living in the country. That's the only Zsa Zsa Gabor I got exposure to. And so it doesn't surprise me. I could totally picture her slapping the shit out of anybody. But, you can't you just picture her just being like, I'm not putting up with your crap. Damn. But with Paris Hilton, I mean, for that connection, I'm just like, I feel bad that now I think of her and I think, well, Zsa Zsa, aren't you not concerned that Paris is behaving this way? Are you concerned about her substance use? Are you concerned about her, like, bad decisions? Like, wouldn't you want her to get help instead of, like, slapping the cop? But, it's like, it's controversial to say that because some people don't like cops. They don't like anything that cops do. So, and nobody in this society, I guess, at this point has decided whether they're qualified to be a social worker. But everybody's trying to be forced to be a social worker. Whether it's your parents that have the decision or the police that have the decision or the hospital or something. Everybody's getting evaluated in their situation. And I feel like when people like Britney Spears go a little bit cockeyed, that's kind of what it's about, because everybody else is going to say, okay, well, you're being weird because you shaved your head. You're saying a bunch of stuff that we don't understand. And if they were actual psychologists, if they were actual doctors, they would have addressed that behavior much differently than they did just by handling it in the media. It's almost the equivalent of if somebody started having heart attack symptoms, and instead of the hospital being there, you've got the circus there. And the circus is like, well, clearly you're faking this. Oh, you're not faking it? Well, how are you doing it? How are you making your chest beat that way? Well, how did you pass out? How did you, die? They're the wrong people for the job. And that's what I hate about the TI movement is it gets people to criticize. It gets people to criticize things that are sources of evidence. You may not like your doctor, and you might not trust doctors, but if your doctor is legit, you're going to get like a medical file. You're going to get a diagnosis that does something. It's going to be on record. And if you keep doing it, you're going to get to the bottom of it,
And what have you ever noticed? There's like been a string of celebrities going to the penitentiary. Like Martha Stewart went to the feds, didn't she? She went to the penitentiary. Wesley Snipes went to the penitentiary. Unfortunately, I'm not celebrating none of it. I think it's I don't see why they needed to go anyway. It was just some tax issues, I think. But
right.
Wesley Snipes went to the federal penitentiary. Even Mr. Biggs from the Isley Brothers.
Oh yeah, you told about that. Well,
yeah.
I mean, most of the celebrities that I know about that have been in, it's been because of the tax reasons.
Yeah.
Pretty much universally, yeah, it's been the taxes.
Yeah, a friend of mine, he knew a guy from Detroit who he said was a roommate of Wesley Snipes. A big drug dealer was supposed to be a roommate of his in the federal pen or something. But you got all kinds of stories out there. I remember when I was growing up, we had some preachers from Muskegon. You heard Tim and Tammy Baker?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tim and Tammy Baker are from Muskegon. And I don't know what happened.
What? They're from Muskegon? Are you serious?
Yeah, Tim. You didn't know Tim and Tammy Baker are from Muskegon?
Well, wasn't it Jim? Wasn't it Jim and Tammy Faye? Like Jim Baker, Jim, like Jim and Tammy Faye, not Tim, right?
Yeah, Tim and Tammy Baker.
I don't think it was Tim. I thought it was Jim with a J. But
Let me see.
they had an international TV show, and she was like the pancake makeup lady with all the pancake makeup, and they had so much money, man. They did stuff down here in Texas, dude. They had their own church down here in Texas. And so did Robert Johnson.
No, it wasn't Jim. It was Tim. It wasn't Jim Baker. It was Tim Baker. I just pulled it up. It's Tim and Tammy Baker.
That's weird. I don't know why I changed that. That's strange. It must be
Maybe
some kind of...
Maybe it used to be Jim and it was like a Mandela effect or something.
Right? Yeah, we had a little weird blip in the Matrix just then. But, no, Tammy Faye, God, I can remember before I even went to high school, there was like a rerun of one of their programs on at my sister's house.
Hey,
and they were
I remember, not to cut you off, but listen to this. I remember one time I was doing a tour. I was in Hollywood doing a tour, and we went by what's his face, the guy who did the Playboys.
Yeah.
Hugh Hefner. We went by Hugh Hefner's house, and when you go to Beverly Hills and you go to Hugh Hefner's house, you got Hugh Hefner's house, and then the Playgirls sleep in a compound across from Hugh Hefner's house.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, you got the Playboy Mansion, then you got the Playgirls house, which is across from there, and we were going. This is right in Beverly Hills. We were going on a tour, and we slowed down, and so I started waving. I was just messing around. I started waving. He said, "You talk to him, he'll talk back." And I said, I went, "Hey, hey!" And I started waving. And some of the Playboy girls started waving back, going, "Hey!" like that. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "You got." I was like, "How did you know they were going to do that?" And he said, "I don't know. I've been doing the tour for years. Sometimes they talk, sometimes they don't talk."
Right.
And yeah, they had, and I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the reaction I got because I didn't think anybody was going to say anything. And then as soon as they said something back, there was a little boy about 8, 9 years old. He looked at me and started smiling. He was like, "Yeah, I would have did the same thing." It was so funny. It was so funny. And,
right.
And I remember we went. Who's that guy on television? The Dr. Phil, right?
Yeah, Dr. Phil.
Yeah, we went by Dr. Phil's house, and I remember the tour guy was like, "Well, Dr. Phil isn't here this time of the year." And one of the guys in the thing said, "I think I see somebody up there." And we all cracked a joke. We were like, "It must be his alter ego." You know?
Yeah, this Dr. Phil's ghost is haunting his own house or something.
Right.
That's pretty funny. You know, I mean, that kind of, you gotta admit, like, Hollywood is all about fantasticalness. You know, everything is even if it's real, it's supposed to have an element of drama to it, because it is a town of drama. I mean, we make shows there, we make plays, we make movies, we make music, and so I can see how even everyday life has a little bit of that kick to it. You know, even if it's
yeah, they don't even know the people, the actual. Most Angelinos don't even know anything about the Hollywood area. Most people don't know anything about it. Like people, every 5 years the whole trend changes and people look different, and it takes the rest of the country like 20 years to catch up what they were doing 5 years ago. But I remember I used to talk to some of the people who lived on the Sunset area. I used to talk to some of the people who lived up in the canyons, like Topanga Canyon, Rooster Canyon, Laurel Canyon, even some of the different areas, even in the Hollywood Hills area, they're not that familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because those Hollywood Hills go back so many decades and of Los Angeles was one of the last cities to be built in America. In the 1960s, Chicago was still the second largest city. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Chicago, the city of Chicago was the second largest city in the United States of America back in the 60s. So LA is the second largest city now, but Los Angeles is a newer city. Like New York builds up and LA builds out.
Right.
So most of the construction is new, but there are some older areas though, you know, and the history is fascinating. You know, if you ever really get into it, the history of the area is very fascinating. Like when they used to do movies at the lots, they would build houses or they would build the studios without the roofs. This was in the early 1900s because they had no electricity to use.
Mhm.
So they would build a whole house without the roof so they could use the sunlight to film.
That makes a lot of sense, and that connects to something I saw today. It's the YouTubers I watched were doing an American history quiz, and it was like, what was the site of the first Olympics? And for some reason, the first thing I thought was L.A., which was wrong. The first site in America was St. Louis, Missouri. But they started talking about why they chose that and said, well, L.A. is very spread out, isn't it? And L.A. is very spread out. It's more spread out than New York. But it's in a weird way, it's almost like Dallas. It's like it's both concentrated and it's spread out. And there's really only those specific areas, like you're talking about, where the bulk of that activity goes on. And so, I wonder for myself sometimes what it's like to be. It's almost what's happening to Austin too. What is it like to be in a city that's becoming known for something, but what it's becoming known for is not necessarily an industry that everybody there can get into. Most of it, the economy has to be supported by people not doing that. You've got to have your engineers, your doctors, your laborers, I mean, LA can't be all Hollywood, even though that's like a central business for them. It's got to have other infrastructure.
Yeah. Well, the Hollywood is considered the motion picture capital of the world, and it's also considered the entertainment capital of the world. But a lot of the filming of film doesn't really go on in the physical. Like you have the city of Hollywood, and a lot of the movies are not actually filmed in the city of Hollywood. They're filmed. The camera crews go over to Beverly Hills. They go throughout the city. But when you talk about the movie lot, a lot of that goes on up in the San Fernando Valley area.
Okay.
Where there's a lot of property. And the San Fernando Valley also is the porn capital of the world.
Okay.
Like the Valley Girls and all that stuff. So
yeah.
But right. But a lot of the but I know they still do the red carpet every year. Hell, I saw Rihanna on the red. The singer Rihanna.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Rihanna on the red carpet one night. I was walking down the street, going to meet a friend of mine. I was walking down the street. I had just got done eating some pizza, and I was walking past down there right where the Groom Theater thing is, and I was walking down the street, and I saw Rihanna, and of course, she had the fence around her, like how they got the fence and they got the red carpet, and I remember looking at her. She was so small. I'm 6'5".
Mhm.
And so I'm looking at her, and I'm thinking, that's the girl who's on television, who's so famous, and she was so small. She was like real small, She, real small. She was cute and stuff. She looked like she had a lot going for herself, And so I want to say hi to her, but I thought, no, that's
Right.
that's I'm not interested in newer celebrity people. I like old celebrity stuff. I like the people from like the 40s and 50s, stuff like that. But sometimes you can see those people if they come down there. You see them in New York a lot, I think. Don't you?
It's one of those things where you're just like, if you felt like it, you might from a distance be like, "Hey, Rihanna, what's up?"
Right.
And she might ignore you, or she might say, "Hey," and that's like all you get, and that's fine. That's the conversation. But
right.
yeah, you're right. It's like a lot of those people. a lot of those people have homes in those places. So even musicians from other countries, like I'll give you an example, like the Smiths for one, which not many people listen to, but if anybody does, you know what I'm talking about. Morrissey was very his image was all about Manchester, England, and that was a part of his fame. But as he got older and started his solo career, he actually moved to LA and has a house somewhere out in the Hollywood Hills and is wanting to make or has made Los Angeles his home. So if he's viewed as a British icon, but he chooses to live in Hollywood. And I find that very, very interesting, specifically because as he grew up as a musician, he was very into film, and film was the reason that he wrote a lot of his lyrics. He was into the old like working class films of Britain, and would base a lot of his songs around that. And it seems like Hollywood is a perfect match for him. But at the same time, if you came from the 80s viewing him as you did through the lens of his Britishness, you would never have predicted him to be in Los Angeles. And I think that's what's interesting about LA is that so many people go there who you would not predict. You wouldn't predict them wanting to live there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you wouldn't predict them wanting to live there. I think a lot of people are lost. They have some sort of fantasy in their mind that they're actually going to get on an airplane or in a car or a bus and go to that location, that area of the world, and then they're going to end up, something spectacular is going to happen. They're going to meet somebody, and they're going to become famous. Most people who hang around that area there's a reason why they call it Holly Weird. Most people who hang around the area for about 3-4 days want to leave and go back home.
Mhm.
There's nothing there for anybody, really. I mean, it's a nice place to go to visit, but you can go on YouTube and do your own film. You can be your own filmmaker.
Right.
You're not going to, unless you got some good money and you want to hire a talent agent and go to all the rehearsals, if you really want to be, I think America needs more directors. Like Orson Welles. Orson Welles gave a short lecture to a group of French film students back in the 60s, or 70s, and he said the issue with America is everybody wants to be an actor, nobody wants to be a director.
Uh-huh.
In France, everybody wants to be a director, and nobody wants to be an actor.
Mhm.
So I think if more people wanted to be directors, they would have an awesome chance. I got a friend I grew up with who's in the film industry right now.
That's pretty cool. Who was?
Yeah, he's a filmmaker. He went all the way to Los Angeles, and now he's in the film business. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's into making movies and everything. I thought he was joking. I mean, we had a mutual friend that told me about it. I'm like, get out of here. He's like, man, him and his wife are making movies together, all this stuff. He's in the studios and all this stuff. I'm like, man, get out of here, man. I'm not joking, man. He's in the studios, man. And lo and behold, he was right.
Mhm.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, guy spent his whole life doing animation and working with video cameras and all this stuff, and now he's in the studio. He told me, he said, next time you come to the West Coast, give me a call. We're gonna go have some coffee and stuff, and I'll bring you to the studio. No?
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome. You should do that. That's really great.
I want to go in the studio.
That's the studio thing. That cross applies to music too, because but what I've seen on my side of stuff, it's the songwriter in music is getting shafted right now. Like, you could have a songwriter comes with this great song, somebody who's a better singer or performer comes out and records it and makes the iconic version of that song, and the populace automatically just assigns the credit to that person. Like, well, this was written by, Reba McEntire or something.
Mm.
They just think that way, but it could be she's singing a song somebody else wrote. And as a songwriter, if you don't have the proper licensing agreement negotiated with them, then you don't get anything. And that's the thing too about these places people go to become famous. Like with LA, it's the actors, but with Nashville, it's like the country music artists.
I got a friend of mine. I talk to him all the time. His father played in a lot of movies. His father His father played movies with famous people. His father was on television shows. He himself was in commercials as a child. He was a child actor. And recently they even used his house to shoot a film out of it over the last year. And I didn't even know his family. I didn't even know his father was in the movies. And he was.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he contacted me, and he was like, Jameel, I saw you all over YouTube. I love your YouTube stuff. And we were talking for like 4 months, and then out of nowhere, he said, yeah, you know, my father was an actor. And I said, what? He said, yeah, my father was an actor, and he showed me all the movies his father was in, and I looked it up, and I saw all the, and he started telling me about all the movies he used to play in McDonald's commercials as a child. And I was like, whoa, man. I was like, if I was you, I'd be flying that. I'd be riding a limousine somewhere. You know what I mean? I'd be trying to make it work. You know, I'd be trying to make it work. But he's just a regular person, though. If you talk to him, he's just a regular guy. He's just, you know, he doesn't have very much. You know, he doesn't have the job of his dreams. He's just a regular guy. But his father was in all kinds of pictures with big stars and all that stuff. I swear, yeah, they shot a movie in his lawn a couple months ago. Oh.
That's pretty incredible. And that's like, it makes you wonder too about the set people, because I'm a big fan of the Golden Girls, and the Golden Girls is supposed to be set in Florida, right? But the house that they use is a house in California. They didn't even film that in Florida. They totally filmed that in California, and that house was a real house that you can actually buy and live in. I mean, the set, of course, the set of it was made up by them, but that house on the outside, you can actually buy that place. And to me, that's just incredible. I mean, it means that somebody in the industry who was setting up the staging and the costumes and the scenery went off set and said, we need to buy this house for this show. And for the duration that we're filming here, we've got exclusive access to come into this house and set it up however we want to and film it however we want to. And that's pretty interesting when you think about it, because that means that Hollywood sometimes has an actual vested interest in real estate. Like if they're not going to on set, they've got an interest in buying somewhere, and they've got the money to do it too.
Yeah, not all the money in the area is involved with the film industry. I was hanging out in West Hollywood one night, and I met a group of older men, really older men, and they were like, the only reason we're here is because our families moved here during the oil business, during the oil boom. They were never involved, as far as business deals go. They were never involved in anything having to do with any singing or anything like that or movies. Their families were involved in oil. And
right.
And they said oil was a big thing. You know, he explained to me how his father worked hard in the oil business, and what else was he saying? He was talking about how in Beverly Hills you could buy some property for nothing, for pennies, for peanuts. You know, at one time the property was so cheap you could buy it for nothing, and he said it was all farming land. You know. And we were talking about Anaheim, and see, I really started breaking it down because I'm familiar with the LA immigration, the LA immigration history. You know, German immigrants. It was a couple of German immigrants who started the city of Anaheim. You know where that is?
I didn't know about that.
In Orange County, yeah, a lot of German immigrants. See, back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, when you had immigrants coming in to the LA area, you had all German schools. See, the educational system in America was far different at that time, especially on the West Coast. And you had all German-speaking schools. You had all Chinese-speaking schools. Of course, the Chinese built the railroads out west. And you would have all English-speaking schools. So each ethnic group had their own little area and their own little school. And matter of fact, this gets into a deeper conversation. It was the German immigrants in the LA area who helped plan both World War I and World War II for Germany. That gets into a much deeper conversation about I don't know if I want to go there either on the internet, but about the Rustic Canyon, about the old Nazi compounds. There used to be rich Nazis.
Okay. Yeah.
There used to be rich. There used to back in the 1930s. There used to be rich Nazis in the Hollywood Hills, and but the only reason they were there is because they came in as German immigrants, and they came from all German-speaking schools, and they helped plan both wars. And then, of course, as you know, the Nazis got their racial laws came from California. The Nazi racial laws came from California, came from Deep South.
Are you serious? I didn't realize that connection was there. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Man,
makes
sense.
Yeah, the racial sterilization policy in Germany came from America. It came, yeah. But going back to what I was saying, the oil families in Beverly Hills, the old men and stuff, I had met them, and it's kind of funny because the people in today's world, they've never heard any of this stuff before.
Right.
Have you explained to them, like the Sunset Strip and the movie industry and what was going on back in the early? They've never heard any of this stuff before. They don't care either.
No, it's gotten to the point of ignorance, and I hate to say this. There's some people on YouTube that I follow that I like a lot, and they're in England, and like their lack of knowledge about American history is so scary. Like they don't actually, at their age, understand that America used to be a British colony. They don't understand why we had the Revolutionary War. They don't know about the Boston Tea Party. They do not know any of it, and they admit freely England doesn't teach us about it. And that's it. We're not taught about it. I'm just like, you've got to be kidding me. And their primary audience is American, and that's why they bring it up, because we're like, we love America, we're trying to learn about America, and then they'll just start taking these quizzes, and they're like, who didn't die in office? And one of the people in this thing said, wasn't Abraham Lincoln the one that was shot in a car? And you're like, dude, first think about the fact that Abraham Lincoln was alive when cars weren't invented, for number one, right? I mean, how could you not know about John F. Kennedy? How could you not know the difference between JFK and Abraham Lincoln? And that's how it is for, like, young people in Britain that are like this. And over here in America, though, we learn all about it, man. We've both taken American history. We've probably taken it like 5 times or some shit. I mean, I know I have. I had to take it like multiple times.
No doubt, Josh. I want to ask, could this be an okay time to leave off? I got a ride. We'll come back with a part 2 to this part 1. I got a ride, and they just text me and said they're about to pull up. I was getting ready to eat dinner, actually. So that's cool. But I'm gonna call you back. Just me and you'll talk after a little bit. I'll call you back.
Okay, that sounds great.
Oh, okay. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon, and this will be the first part of the 2 parts.
Cool, man. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right, bye.
All right.